And welcome back. There's always much insight to be had when Tom visits with your disability rep. We got live to them now. Tom, what's going on?
Well, Blake, we've got something I think, a lot of people have possibly run into this. It's important to know how things are going to develop and what you might be able to do about them. I'm with Roy Rickstrew, of course, your disability rep. Good to see you.
Likewise, Tom.
It's a word that, although sometimes you go, ooh, it can also have a kick from behind you're not ready for. Overpayment?
Yeah, that's correct. So lots of changes at Social Security. This is one of those. And overpayments are a result of a couple different things. They can be Social Security processing errors to where you received more money than you should have.
Okay.
They can be based on incomplete information from the claimant, client error, or maybe more importantly in our current environment would be the slow processing times at Social Security.
Right.
Staff reductions, workloads increase, they don't get to process change as quickly as they should. Take, for example, if you were to start a job and it affected your benefits, it might take Social Security 60 days to process that change, which means you may have been overpaid for 2 months. No fault of your own, but you find yourself with an overpayment.
But you don't need to think, ooh, free money, or ooh, a gift.
No.
Can be a big mistake.
Well, it's overpayments in the other sense. You receive too much money from Social Security, you're going to be asked to give it back, right?
Yeah, but it's not just, let's work something out that's easy for everybody, usually.
Yeah, that's correct. So historically, the collection of overpayments is translated to a percentage of your monthly income that Social Security just keeps.
Right.
It's been as little as 10%. It still is as little as 10% for some people. It's been as high as 100%, which means Social Security could take your entire check, and you can obviously think through the financial ruin that could cost somebody. You can't make rent, utilities, maybe buy food, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So if you're on SSI, which is the needs and income-based program for Social Security, those that don't have a lot of work history, it still remains at 10% of your check that is the recoupment.
Okay.
If you have an existing claim already, you stay under the old rules. It's only for new claims. So claims after March, after April will be subject to these higher recoupment rates.
Okay.
It was 10%.
Yes.
Now it's going to move up to 50% for people who are on Social Security disability or retirement.
So they can take 50% of your check.
Of your monthly check. Yeah, that's correct. And it's still a huge burden on folks.
Sure it is, because it may go for more than one check.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I've seen overpayments that were $35,000, $37,000
Oh, good grief.
in the past where people drew disability, they went to work, they didn't report it, Social Security didn't catch it. And you can imagine if you had a $35,000 overpayment, you just wouldn't receive hardly any money for a long time. Yeah.
Or, okay, how can you protect yourself, or if you find yourself in this situation, what do you need to do?
Well, first of all, if you have a change in your circumstances and you report it to Social Security, you need to be real careful about spending the money that they send you. You need to try to hang on to it the best you can, make sure that it is actually due, and call them. If you call Social Security and say, look, I reported the change, I haven't heard anything yet, I want to make sure things are good, someone will look at it, oftentimes on the phone then, and they'll tell you whether or not this is something that's likely to impact you. That guidance on the phone isn't a formal official decision, but at least you have some certainty as to whether you should hang on to it or you're free to spend some of it.
Is it a good idea if you do contact them and you speak to them to make sure you have a name, the time and date you called, all of that kind of, is there something to ask, an ID number or anything like that?
Yeah, to the extent that you can obtain it, yeah, they're pretty good about giving you a first name. You don't oftentimes get a last name.
True.
But at least if there's a record that you've called. If you have access to a fax machine, it's best to fax that stuff in. You can mail it, things get lost in the mail. You can report changes through your My SSA portal. Things where there's a paper trail is obviously going to work out better for you. And the other important thing to recognize or understand is that the overpayment can be challenged. So whatever reason they made the decision and the decision itself, you can fight that.
But does that stop the process?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, not necessarily. And the likelihood of the appeal is going to depend on how well prepared and how well documented things are from your perspective. Social Security's got all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, so it can be an uphill battle.
Yeah, that becomes a little confusing though, when you say they've got the I's dotted and T's crossed, but they sent you too much money, they want it back, and they want it back now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an interesting thing. A great source of frustration when people are approved and they wait a long time for their back pay. It's kind of like the IRS. When you owe them money, it's a big deal. When they owe you money, things are slower than they ought to be.
You'll get it when they can.
Last thing here
Yeah.
is you can ask for a waiver of the overpayment. And so there is a form where you can quite simply say, it wasn't my fault,
All right.
and I don't have the money to pay you back.
Okay.
And in some circumstances, Social Security will waive the overpayment. They can be a little more reasonable on the collection too in some circumstances.
All right.
But you should appeal it, and then you should ask for a waiver. You should do both.
How do people get a hold of you to find out these things?
Yeah, so you can give us a ring here. The 417-812-6698 is direct to my desk. You can get us at yourdisabilityrep.com. You are yourdisabilityrep.com. Or scan the QR code. It leads you to a scheduling portal for me. Reach out. If you find yourself in this circumstance, at least you can get some advice and
All right.
maybe cure some of the uncertainty.
That's him. Your disability rep, Roy Rickstrew. Good to see you, Roy.
Likewise.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everybody.